The entire Seth Rollins situation seems a little fishy to me, man. I've been looking at this. I've been dissecting it ever since last weekend's Saturday night's main event where he went one-on-one with LA Knight. And that's the night he got injured. A knee injury, a leg injury off of a moonsault. He went down, and the look on Paul Heyman's face basically told the entire story. Monday Night Raw went into Birmingham, Alabama, where all of the WWE athletes usually get checked out. So coincidentally, Raw was taking place in Birmingham, Alabama on Monday. And from that day on, we have not heard a single word or a peep from anybody in regards to Seth Rollins. Now, Seth Rollins since then has been on the Rich Eisen show on ESPN, and he let us know a little bit about how he's feeling, what happened, and he even gave us some sort of time frame for when he thinks he could be back. I don't know what you guys think. In my honest opinion, I went from looking at it as a legit injury to a work, and now I'm sticking with it being a work. This is just my opinion. This is my viewpoint. I'm not saying it is a work. I'm giving you my opinion on the situation. Today, we're going to talk about why I feel that way right here on Off the Script. Also, a major injury to one of AEW's biggest stars, and they will be out for an extended period of time, coincidentally missing the Forbidden Door pay-per-view in London, England. We got all that and more right here on Off the Script. It is your Saturday, July 19th, 2025. Seth Rollins. I watched Saturday night's main event, and obviously I watched All In that weekend, and then I covered Saturday night's main event. If you guys missed my 1 hour review, it's on the channel. You guys can find that and access that on the homepage. I watched this, and on that night, I watched the injury take place, and I watched it over and over and over again. A lot of people were claiming that it came off the moonsault, where he jammed his leg into the mat, and then he went down to go scurry off into the corner, and then the look on Paul Heyman's face really told the entire story, which at that point, watching Heyman, I said, this is legit. Heyman's look really gave off that legit, he's injured feel. Then I watched it again and again and again, and I realized it probably wasn't on the moonsault where he initially hurt himself. It came off of the Swanton bomb, or the senton, and then he did the moonsault. But if you guys watch the senton, he rolled his leg and he maybe tweaked or twisted his leg upon trying to transition into the moonsault. So I'm like, that's the spot he got hurt. That looked like it was worse. And then the moonsault just kind of finished the job. And then they went right to the ending, BFT by LA Knight. LA Knight gets the 1, 2, 3. Birmingham, that was the home of Monday Night Raw. We didn't really hear anything from anybody in regards to that. And the excuse was, or the story was, that there was too much swelling on his knee and they could not get an MRI. Paul Heyman, on Monday, he addressed everybody's concerns because I'm assuming everybody was talking about the same thing, the Money in the Bank contract. What's going to happen with the Money in the Bank contract? Is WWE going to take the contract away from him? Or are they going to do a ladder match at SummerSlam? Is Rollins going to give it to Braun Breaker? All these different scenarios. Paul Heyman came out and said immediately, it doesn't matter how long Rollins is out. He's got 12 months to cash in the contract, and he will be back to do so in that time frame. That's all I needed. That's all I needed to hear to sway my opinion on this from legit to a complete pro wrestling work. Now, the latest on Seth Rollins is very cloudy. It is very mysterious. Nobody knows a single thing. This is according to Fightful. After things that happened with LA Knight, Saturday night's main event, things just became a little bit more mysterious. Producers, talent, and a number of staff are being told that Rollins' injury is legitimate, but there isn't a real solid detail on how long he could be out. most everyone agrees that Rollins has some sort of injury, but there isn't a lot known on when he actually sustained it or if it was worked on Saturday night's main event. However, it was treated as a legitimate injury backstage, and Rollins was on crutches following the events, going on into Evolution, where his wife Becky Lynch defended the Intercontinental Championship in the opening match against Lyra Valkyria and Bayley. Rollins said on Wednesday that he didn't have an MRI yet as he was waiting on the swelling to go down. There was internal skepticism on the severity of the injury, with a number of producers and backstage staff not being clued in on the work. They noted that they are of the belief that everyone kept things very tight, with even backstage personnel planning for Rollins to win Saturday night against LA Knight. One producer sent Fightful and Sean Ross Sapp tweet back to him noting a possible Machiavelli situation, noting that what's being suspected backstage. Now, right now, it's likely that various pieces of information are being thrown around there, and everybody's got a little bit of news here. Nobody knows what's legit. Nobody knows what's fake. Everybody's getting a little piece of information, and a bunch of different stories are going around. Machiavelli means deceptive. It's a deceptive situation. Then Rollins went on the Rich Eisen show, and this happened on ESPN. Now, he was on the show. He was dressed in character, and he told Rich Eisen this in regards to his injury. He described wearing a brace and using crutches to get around, said that he isn't entirely sure what happened to his leg or the severity of the injury. I do have a leg brace on, Rollins says. Over in the corner are my crutches. This past Saturday, I was in a match on Saturday night's main event, which is a special on NBC and Peacock. I was in a match with LA Knight, and I hurt my knee. I was going to do a move. I do the move all the time, a moonsault, a backflip. And in this particular instance, I was landing not on my belly, but I was landing on my feet. When I landed, I felt my knee kind of pop and buckle. We got out of the match, moved forward. Monday, I was in Birmingham, Alabama, where our specialists are, and we tried to take a look at the knee, do some imaging. It was a little too swollen. So we're going to take another look, hopefully in a week or two in Los Angeles, try to get some firm diagnosis. Then we can go from there. Rollins later then added, while he doesn't know the specifics yet, he feels this is going to be, a situation that keeps him out for extended period of time. Some have been skeptical of Rollins' injury, believing that the moment was instead a move to distract fans from a future cash-in from someone who calls himself the Visionary. Now, something that you guys might have missed, post-wrestling and John Pollock noted earlier in the week before Saturday night's main event, or actually after Saturday night's main event, that they were given some information from a source, and this source warned him ahead of time about an injury angle taking place in Rollins' match against LA Knight. So John Pollock, after Saturday night's main event, was clued in on a work in regards to an injury angle, and then obviously it ended up being Seth Rollins. However, others have reported different information regarding the match. Some have said Rollins suffered a legitimate injury. Others have said that Rollins entered the match with an injury and that the injury was a way to write him off of programming. That doesn't really make any sense. That last part doesn't make any sense. Rollins went on to say and give some sort of timetable as far as when he wanted to come back. He says, I've always got WrestleMania in the back of my mind. I'm like, can I make it back for WrestleMania season? I feel good about that. But beyond a firm timeline, I just don't know until we get a better answer on the MRI. Let me go back to the John Pollock situation. He was clued in. He was clued in immediately after that match was over. Injury angle, look out for it. There you go. Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez then report that last part. Others have said that Rollins entered the match with an injury and that the finish was a way to write him off of programming. Now, I don't know why WWE, knowing Rollins, their biggest heel, in their biggest faction, which has been the centerpiece of all of their television, why you would let Rollins wrestle injured only to then write him off. I don't know why you would let him go into a full 10-minute plus match with LA Knight on Saturday night's main event to then only write him off of television. There's other ways to write him off television without having him actually wrestle and aggravate the injury furthermore. That didn't make any sense to me. Honestly, from my point of view, we already seen Naomi cash in her Money in the Bank contract and win the World Heavyweight Championship from Io and Rhea Ripley. She moved from SmackDown to Raw. WWE's already got that simple yet effective cash in. If WWE does another cash in like that with Rollins, how do you think that is going to look in comparison to what Rollins did when he cashed in on Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar over 10 years ago? How do you think that's going to work out there? Do you honestly think that's going to stand up to what he previously did as now a second-time Money in the Bank briefcase holder? You don't think that Seth Rollins wants to come close or, better yet, outdo himself and his first cash-in, which is probably heralded as the greatest Money in the Bank cash-in of all time? How do you go from doing that, which is labeled the greatest Money in the Bank cash-in of all time, and then just turn around and do a simplistic cash-in just like everybody else, like one of the normies? That's the first thing that stuck out to me. You think Rollins, with the greatest Money in the Bank cash-in of all time, is just going to run down the aisle and cash in his contract on CM Punk or Gunther or John Cena or Cody Rhodes and just say, hey, guys, I'm here to cash in. Let's bring out a referee. Let me curb stomp somebody and win the World Heavyweight Championship. And that's it, man. I'm a world champion once again. No, I don't think it's going to work out that way. If I know Seth Rollins and the professional that he is from what we have been privy to on TV, I don't think Rollins is going to go and use the simplistic, everybody else has done it, Money in the Bank cash-in route. He's going to want to try and one-up his situation. How do you do that? You do that by scheming and coming up with an elaborate work, which in this case could very well be this situation that happened at Saturday night's main event. I thought it was legitimate. And the only reason I thought it was legitimate was not because of the move. I've seen Rollins do that move even while injured or banged up. He's done the move. He's done worse while banged up. He's somewhat healthier now than he was last year at WrestleMania. We've seen him do this move 1,000 times. It didn't look like anything major. But then Paul Heyman's look on Saturday night just really kind of told a different story. Either Paul Heyman was acting because it's legitimate, or Paul Heyman is acting and he is one of the greatest con artists in the history of the business, which goes without saying. It's Paul Heyman. He's fucking amazing at what he does. Paul Heyman then followed up on Monday night mentioning that the briefcase is not going anywhere after fan speculation for the last 48 hours following the injury angle on Saturday night's main event, saying it's not going anywhere. He's got 12 months to cash it in. Stop that. I don't have any information on Rollins' injury. It is way too soon. Is it way too soon? Is there bruising? Is there swelling? Is there a situation that is not allowing doctors and medical personnel to take a proper MRI? Maybe. I don't want to sit here and claim otherwise because I'm not a medical professional, but Zoe Stark, she was injured. We knew almost 24 hours later with what happened to her a few weeks ago on Monday Night Raw. We knew exactly what was wrong, when it happened, and what the diagnosis was immediately. She even gave us a little glimpse as to how long she's going to be out. Rollins was in Birmingham, where everything is centralized for WWE talent to go and seek medical advice and go talk to medical personnel. They did not have any answers at all. I find that very difficult to believe. I find that very difficult to believe that we don't know the extent of Seth Rollins' injury. How don't we know? We've seen a lot happen to worse, and we knew almost immediately what was going on. I don't know. They didn't really give us much of anything. Now we got to wait 2 weeks. I just find this to be very fishy in all that's going on with Seth Rollins. If you want to go back even further, Bronson Reed, Bron Breakker, and Paul Heyman had a backstage interview, or it was a segment right before a match on Monday Night Raw a couple weeks ago. And Bronson Reed looked over at Paul Heyman and said, "Where's the visionary?" I don't know who speaks like that. It just sounds awful. Bronson Reed should not be using, types of phrases like that coming off as manufactured as he did, but that's not really the topic of discussion. Where's the visionary? And Seth Rollins wasn't there, according to Paul Heyman, because he was on the private jet coming up with Plan B. What is Plan B? Is this Plan B? I don't know. Why would he say that? Nothing that was said there was followed up on. Why wasn't it followed up on? Because we could legitimately be looking at Plan B, which is him showing up at SummerSlam. Out of sight, out of mind. Out of sight, out of mind. CM Punk then gets a match with Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship, more than likely main eventing night one of the first ever 2-night SummerSlam, which is also a nice little caveat here. First night on a 2-night SummerSlam, historic event, first time ever for WWE to do the 2-night SummerSlam thing. You don't think that they want to go off the air on night one with a major bang, which goes back to what I just said. Rollins is not going to do a rinky-dink fucking normie cash-in after the greatest cash-in of all time when he cashed in his briefcase contract against Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Doesn't sound like something that I would do if I'm Seth Rollins. How do you one-up yourself? Out of sight, out of mind. Punk gets his main event. And you create this sympathy. You create this illusion that you're out, only to then show up and run down the aisle. He's not hurt. What is going on here? He cashes in on CM Punk, who's in character, not thinking about Seth Rollins because he's comfortably got his title match. He thinks he's in the driver's seat, nothing to worry about. And there's Seth Rollins cashing in his briefcase. Wins the World Championship, makes it a triple threat match, just like he did with Roman and Brock at WrestleMania. And we do the same thing. Heist of the century over 10 years ago. Heist of the century 10 years plus later. I love it. I love it. Everything that we've heard, sure. They're trying to believe, they're trying to make you believe, they're trying to convince you that it's all legit. Triple H, even after Saturday night's main event, I believe there was like a little media scrum. I think the first thing out of his mouth was, I'm sure someone here is going to ask about Seth Rollins. I don't have any information. That's all I got on it. It looks serious. It looks bad. And he did not take any more questions about Seth Rollins. He immediately addressed it before the media, the fake media, could ask a question. Why would you throw that out there and not show any compassion or any concern? You're just going to throw... I know some idiot here is going to ask about Seth Rollins. We don't know, and it looks bad. That just, to me, throws another log onto the fire of it being a work. I don't know how you guys feel about it. All these things that happen, plus John Pollock said a source warned him ahead of time about an injury angle taking place in the match. Listen, man, I know pro wrestlers themselves love working the fans. A good work is so underappreciated. A good work is looked at as true excitement. How do you top what you did over 10 years ago? That's what Rollins is thinking about. And also, with this group, this is another thing I added when we talked about this on TNT. This group really wasn't lighting the world on fire either. They weren't. They were not cold. They were basically on the stovetop at a very low setting. They were just simmering. Rollins hasn't really done anything with the group. The makeup of the group is great. Bronson Reed is great. Bron Breakker's great. Rollins is great. He won Money in the Bank. They got the Oracle, Paul Heyman. What's the Oracle? The Oracle is something that I believe has a glimpse into the future. He knows what's going to happen. And I do feel with the group, they really weren't catching on fire. They didn't really feel like a threat on Monday night. And they needed something to really kind of push them over that edge and reignite that fire that everybody thought was going to come out of the Raw after Mania, which never really came. The names line up. The names are great. The potential additions that could be coming sound great with all the rumors that we've heard. But they didn't really cause a threat. They didn't really give Monday Night Raw feeling of, oh man, this group is taking over and they should be taken as a serious, legitimate threat here to Monday night. I didn't get any sense on Monday night with this group. This could be it. This is now making the group. This is now, Rollins is more talked about now than any time he has been in this group when he just formed this group with Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. He's more talked about now than he was when he was first getting these guys together. So all of this lined up, I feel like it genuinely is going to end up being a work. That's my opinion. I'm not saying it's going to be that. This is the way that I feel. This is the way that I think. I think that we will see Rollins at SummerSlam. I think we will see Rollins cash in. I think it's going to be a heist of the century. I think he's going to steal another championship opportunity from CM Punk. They will have that fight forever feel. And this is coming from a guy who at the Elimination Chamber looked at John Cena and CM Punk and said that he will die before he lets CM Punk get close to the World Heavyweight Championship. So this is someone that has let his intentions known live on television against his greatest rival right now. He will do anything and everything to stop CM Punk from winning the World Championship, which conveniently he now has a championship match at SummerSlam. And that includes playing the world like a fiddle and being the puppet master that he really is. I do think that we are setting ourselves up for a work here. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But I do think that we see Rollins at the end of SummerSlam on night one, and he cashes in to win the World Heavyweight Championship. And yes, a good work and a good I got you to the fans, a good deviation away from what the plans probably were, the original plans. Well, I heard some people saying you would bypass a Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins match to do an injury angle. I absolutely fucking would. I absolutely would. More people talking about the injury and the potential of what could be with this situation than they would be with a Rollins-Roman Reigns match. So why wouldn't you? You could always go back and do the Rollins and Reigns match whenever you want. You can't do this situation whenever you want. You got to do it and act on it now if it's going to play into the storyline of Punk and Rollins and taking the championship away from CM Punk. Yes, I absolutely would. So let me know what you guys think about that. I genuinely feel that we are looking at one of the best works in a long time. And yes, LA Knight, he got the win. But again, Rollins is that puppet master playing everybody like a fiddle. Major injury to one of AEW's biggest stars, and that is Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay is going to be off TV, and his injury is more serious than believed. A new report has provided details on the status of Will Ospreay, who was written off television with a stretcher angle at the end of All In Texas during the Jon Moxley and Adam Page Texas Death Match. In the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer reported that Will Ospreay, who has been hurting for a while, not really lighting the world on fire there. The way Ospreay wrestles, you would imagine that he's more banged up than usual. Hurting for a while and is taking time off after his injuries became worse than he thought. There is currently no timetable for his return, as he is scheduled to be fully checked out by a doctor in the United States next week. His absence puts his previously planned role as a focal point for the Forbidden Door show on August 24th in doubt. His victory alongside Swerve against the Bucks now positions Swerve for a solo run at the AEW World Championship, says Dave Meltzer. No, because Swerve helped Hangman win the championship, so I don't think that we are going right into that immediately. As we saw on Dynamite, if you did watch it, which according to the rating that we got, nobody did. If you watched on Dynamite, they set up Swerve and Okada for the AEW Continental International Unified Championship for Forbidden Door. Does that mean that Ospreay is missing Forbidden Door? By what they did on Wednesday to set that matchup with Swerve and Okada, it could look very likely that Ospreay misses that show. I had thrown out there that if Ospreay and Swerve were on TV following All In and they would keep this partnership together, that they would go and challenge for the tag team championships because nothing else makes sense outside FTR for the tag team championships. Now, FTR and the Hurt Syndicate, who are the champions, they are both heel tag teams. MVP's been out there saying they want one of these legendary tag teams to step up. I thought we'd see Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland come together, get a match with the Hurt Syndicate because they buried every other fucking team in the division. There are legitimately no teams left. So AEW would have to scrounge up two singles guys, the likes of Will Ospreay and Swerve, and put them together to try and take the titles off of the Hurt Syndicate. Hurt Syndicate and Swerve Strickland have some sort of history. Swerve Strickland and Bobby Lashley feuded right out of the gate when Bobby Lashley emerged on the scene in AEW. Bobby Lashley owns a win over Swerve Strickland. I think Swerve would look to get his win back over Bobby Lashley and the Hurt Syndicate. And honestly, if you were going to take the titles off of the Hurt Syndicate, it's probably no better team in the entire company than Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland. That's just my take there. Plus, it would give Ospreay a huge match in London at the O2 for Forbidden Door. Now it may look like he's missing the show. The other option now is, with Swerve and Okada, Ospreay misses the show. Hurt Syndicate defends the tag team titles against some fucking random team from New Japan that nobody even knows exists or nobody has any interest in. And we wait to do a real tag team title match against FTR on the road to All In. Maybe FTR wins the tag team titles from the Hurt Syndicate. I highly doubt it. And then they take those tag team titles into a match with a newly reformed Christian Cage and Adam Copeland. And they wrestle for the tag team titles. It'll be Copeland Christian versus FTR in Toronto at All Out for the AEW Tag Team Championships. That match, to me, doesn't need the Tag Team Championships because it's all about Christian and Adam Copeland coming back together after all this time and actually teaming up in a tag team match. It doesn't need the titles, but if you want to add the little cherry on top, you could certainly do that. Or you could do Adam Copeland and Christian Cage versus FTR versus the Hurt Syndicate because, again, if you go back to what MVP said, I want one of these legendary tag teams to come step up to the plate and try and take the titles off the Hurt Syndicate. And then you're looking at Adam Copeland and Christian Cage, and then you're looking at FTR. They're two legendary tag teams right there. Maybe they do that. Triple threat match. Copeland Christian pin FTR to win the tag team titles. Hurt Syndicate doesn't need to be pinned. And we have new tag team champions coming out of All Out. I don't know. I don't know which way AEW is going to swing. In regards to the tag team championships, I don't know what Tony Khan is thinking, but Will Ospreay being off TV, not good for AEW. Kenny Omega is also taking yet another hiatus from television, and he's also going to be out, so not looking good for the top of the card there for AEW, man. We had Kenny Omega, who legitimately is the true heart and soul of the company. Will Ospreay's now out, but they got the Cowboys, their new world champions, so hopefully they know what they're doing going into Forbidden Door and All Out. It's a nice, important stretch here for AEW. Coming out of this Wednesday show, they are not getting off on the right foot coming out of their biggest show, maybe of all time, in Texas this past weekend. Thank you guys for all your support. If you guys would love to leave me a comment down below, let me know what you think of the Seth Rollins situation. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Also, please make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for all notifications. And make sure you go check out all the other content on the channel. There's plenty of it. We were live on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. All the streams are there. Go and check them out if you missed them. And please, make sure you guys come back on Monday. I'll be back live again on Monday night for the Monday Night Raw post-show right here on Off the Script as we are gearing up for the first two-night SummerSlam in WWE history, man. Hopefully things turn around for WWE, shaping up to be a very good card. In fact, it's actually looking better than WrestleMania. So make sure you guys go do that. Again, hit that subscribe button and hit that thumbs up, and I will see you back live right here on Monday. And if there's any more news, right here on Off the Script. I'll see you guys later.